Well, then he offered an explanation. And it's a little bit of a long explanation. It's a parable, but I love this parable. And he says, therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 bags of gold was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all that he had be sold to repay the debt. Some translations, a lot of them actually use the word talent, 10,000 talents. And a talent was a weight that was typically used for measuring out either gold or silver. And according to my reading, 10,000 talents or bags of gold was the equivalent of 200,000 years of labor. If a day laborer went out to work, it would take him 200,000 years to earn this much. And that was the debt that this servant owed, unpayable. I mean, basically, who can pay that? All right, so it goes on. At this, the servant fell on his knees before him. Be patient with me, he begged, and I will pay back everything. The servant's master took pity on him, canceled the debt, and let him go. But when that servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 silver coins. He grabbed him and began to choke him. Pay back what you owe me, he demanded. 100 silver coins, some translations say denarii, and one denarii was worth 1 day's wage. So now we're talking about a debt of only 100 days. That is something that could be payable, 100 days versus 200,000 years, no comparison between the two debts. His fellow servant fell to his knees and begged him, just as the first servant had begged for forgiveness, right? Be patient with me and I will pay it back. But he refused. Instead, he went off, had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. When the other servants saw what had happened, they were outraged and went and told their master everything that had happened. Then the master called the servant in. You wicked servant, he said. I canceled all that debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant, just as I had on you? In anger, his master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all he owed. This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart. That is kind of shocking to think about. This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you. Tortured, to be tortured. And let me read the verses out of Matthew 6 there as well. For if you forgive men their trespasses, and let me set the stage. Christ had been teaching the disciples how to pray, and this statement was made right after that. And in the prayer that Christ was teaching them, he said, part of that prayer said, and forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors. And then Christ was saying, for if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive yours. So that's really serious.